If you've ever had the feeling of traveling a windy road and you know you should be home, but you're interested in what's around that next curve, and you get there and there's another curve, and somehow you just get too far away from home, well, I've been doing that for almost a decade.
As an author, educator, photographer, Emmy Award-winning television producer, a 3-time Guinness World Record-holding cyclist, and explorer, Dan Buettner is nothing short of a modern-day Renaissance man.
He made no mention of the Great Wall of China, the only structure you can see with the naked eye from the moon.
Add dynamic keynote speaker to Buettner's already impressive list of credentials. Over the past 10 years, Buettner has parlayed his wealth of experiences into engaging, motivational presentations.
Made no mention of Marco Polo in their record.
He's delivered more than 500 keynote speeches to a diverse list of corporate and college clients.
The Tuaregs, the emotional torment, the fact that Chip couldn't get enough food, the fact he was wiping out was too much for him. And at this point in the Sahara, one night during dinner, he said to us, "I'm sorry, guys, I can't take it anymore. I'm quitting." And he went off alone that night into the desert to spend the night by himself. But the next morning, he comes back, saying absolutely nothing. And he's got this book in his hand. It's his tattered journal, and he opens it up, and he starts reading. And he reads, "Security is mostly a superstition. It does not exist in nature, nor does it exist for the children of man. Avoiding danger is no safer in the long run. Life is a risky adventure, or it is nothing." And he closed the book.
Let me start with you, if I can, Dan Buettner. Tell us what Tikal looked like when the Mayans lived there.
Well, this is sort of like the New York City of the ancient Maya area. There wouldn't have been any forest here back 1,200 years ago.
His expeditions have been extensively covered in the national press. He's appeared on Good Morning America, NBC Today Show, Late Night with David Letterman, and ABC's Primetime Live.
And now an adventure of a different sort. We heard about a team of explorers who are bringing the wonder of an ancient civilization into thousands of classrooms in the United States. It's a voyage of discovery made possible by 20th century technology. And it's all happening in the tiny Central American country of Belize, where the ancient Maya culture flourished.
Buettner has distilled hard-learned lessons from his 3 transcontinental cycling records and offers a universal approach for setting and achieving goals.
Now, we set a Guinness World Record for this ride, but more important than world records is my friends and I learned more about the world and our relationship to the world during 305 days on our bikes than we learned during 16 years of formal education, mainly because we stepped out of our immediate environment and looked back in. Having led 15 expeditions, I've kind of accumulated some opinions on how to build bridges between team members and motivate them to do well or to get to the other end of whatever continent we're trying to traverse. And part of it, I think, is just constantly reiterating the common goal, what we're all trying to do together, and reinforcing the notion that every team member brings a unique skill set and we need it all to make the whole thing work. But I think the way you lead most successfully is more from behind rather than telling people what to do. I think if you put all non-mission critical and non-life-threatening decisions up to a vote, you empower people. And then if the team leader aspires to the condition of a servant, you can harness that power, move them forward. But we had a strategy for getting through. We'd wake up every single morning at 4 a.m., freezing cold, miserable, 500 miles of Sahara left in front of us. And you thought to yourself, I'm not going to be able to make it through the day, much less the next 20 or so days. But you know what? Every morning we could wake up and we could make it to the next mile marker. There was one of these mile markers every 5 kilometers. If it wasn't a mile marker like this, there was a 55-gallon drum. And we made it a point to think of the day as just a series of these mile markers. And once we got there, we would stop, eat some dates, drink some water, and we took turns telling jokes to each other as we went along. So it was something to look forward to and to break up the day. And I've always said that if this little technique can get you across the biggest desert on the planet, it certainly could be useful for meeting monthly business objectives or even getting through that leasing project from hell.
Sand got in our gears and our packs and in every crevice, if you know what I mean.
Together we had endured 7,000 miles at this point. Sahara, Nigeria, the Congo. We had collectively dysentery, giardia, malaria. We all had intestinal worms. We each were down about 20 pounds from our original weight in starting the expedition. And here we all really wanted to quit. You could hear murmurings of it in the tents at night. And what kept us going at this point was not the world record, which we thought would be the big motivator, this idea of being in Guinness a third time. But in face of the hardship of the people we were meeting and our own hardships, a world record seemed silly. What kept us going here was thinking about the people who helped make this possible, the people who counted on us. We had to raise $250,000 to do this bicycle ride, and we had clients, we had business partners, and they weren't just financiers. We really made it a point to make them our friends. They followed us along, we sent them postcards. We had an office staff whose jobs hinged on us finishing this thing successfully. And we also had friends and family who made a huge sacrifice so that we could do this expedition. And if we quit, it would let them down. And we found a powerful means of keeping going when things got tough, a hidden motivation. And that was, when you set your goals, if you make sure to set them that not just yourself benefits, but people you care about, and the more people as possible benefit from them, you'll find that hidden source of motivation. Because at the end of the day, it's much easier to let yourself down than it is to let down people you care about.
Dan's interactive quests set the standard for interactive education, educating an online audience of over 7 million people. This presentation takes audiences to exotic locations around the world where his team help unravel some of the world's greatest mysteries. Everything from how Okinawans live to be 100, whether or not Marco Polo went to China, to why the ancient Maya civilization collapsed. Dan's presentations are uniquely appropriate when programs call for themes of goal setting, leadership, diversity, education, and exploration. Each presentation blends together the professionally shot video, images from a National Geographic photographer, and carefully crafted messages customized for each audience.
In these times of change and uncertainty, I deliver a timeless message, one that leaves audiences energized, motivated, and ready to take on their own challenges.